Alright, today we're going to talk about how we can use our zeros that we learned to find yesterday to graph the function of a quadratic. So we want to know what the picture looks like, and we're going to use our zeros as our points instead of using a table. So to graph from standard form, you first must find the vertex. Now this is something we did earlier, so you should already know how to do it. Remember that you find the x by doing negative b over 2a, and then you take that number and plug it in to find your y. So we're going to do that first. Then we're going to factor the quadratic and solve for the zeros. If we have the zeros, remember that's where it crosses the x-axis, we have 2 points that we can graph. Okay? Then we're going to use the zeros and the vertex to graph the function. So let's look at an example. So it says graph the given quadratic by finding the vertex and the zeros, and they gave us x squared minus 2x minus 8. So we're going to start by finding our vertex. So remember that x is equal to negative b divided by 2 times a. So we do negative 2 over 2 times 1. That should be negative 2. So we get positive 2 over 2, which would be 1. Now remember, once you know this is your x, you have to find your y. So we can say that y is equal to 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 8. All I did was take this 1 and plug it in for the x's. Alright, so if I multiply that out, 1 squared is 1, minus 2 minus 8. 1 minus 2 is negative 1, minus 8 would be negative 9. So my vertex is at 1 and negative 9. So I go over 1, down to 9, which I know this is a 10 by 10, so it's going to be way down here. Okay? Now, in order to graph a quadratic, you have to have at least 3 points. Normally you need to have 5, but for today we're going to talk about having 3. So what we're going to do is factor x squared minus 2x minus 8. So remember, to factor and solve it, you do x squared, here I'll draw a line, x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. So then you're doing your multiply and add. So we're doing 1 times negative 8 for our multiply number. Our add number is negative 2. So then we're looking for our two numbers that multiply to negative 8 but add to negative 2. So I know that that's going to be negative 4 and 2. Okay, negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. So I come over here and I write x minus 4, x plus 2 equals 0. I split it up. I say x minus 4 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0. Then I solve it. So I get x equals 4, x equals negative 2. Now remember that the roots, you're taking the opposite signs of those, and that's how you know what it is. So these are intercepts. They're x-intercepts. They're zeros. They're solutions. But that means they cross the x-axis. So I can just go ahead and plot, go over to the axis, and go over 1, 2, 3, 4, and put a dot. Then I can also go to negative 2 and put a dot. Alright, now you can kind of see the picture. It should be pretty symmetric. I've got 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 away from my vertex. Now when you draw your picture, a quadratic is a parabola. So it should not look like a V. It should go through that point a little bit better than mine does. It should come down, and it should curve up. It should look like a U. Now mine's not very good because I'm drawing with this stupid pen. But it definitely should not look like this. That's absolute value. This is not good. Alright? So that's how you graph it using the zero. So let's do another example. So we have the quadratic function by finding the vertex and the zero. So first things first, let's find the vertex. So x equals negative b divided by 2a. So x is equal to negative 8 over 2 times 4. Negative 8 is positive 8. 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to say that that is 1. Now I take this is my x, I plug it in to find y. So y is equal to 4 times 1 squared minus 8 times 1 minus 5. 1 squared is 1, so I get 4 minus 8 minus 5. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. Minus 5 is negative 9. So we have the same vertex as the other problem. That's okay. So we're going to go over 1 and down 9 and put a dot. Alright, so then we're going to find our factors of this so that we can graph our zeros. So remember, we say that 4x squared minus 8x minus 5 has to be equal to 0. So remember, your multiply number be 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Your add number is negative 8. So what multiplies to negative 20 and adds to negative 8? Well, it's going to be negative 10 and 2, right? Because negative 10 plus 2 is negative 8. So we come back over here, we do x minus 10, x plus 2, still equals 0. We have to divide by the 4 in front, divide by 4, divide by 4. Now this is something that we talked about before Thanksgiving, but I don't know if I did a good job, so this is a good chance to do it. Whenever you have zeros at 10 over 4 and 2 over 4, you have to reduce those numbers in order to find your actual factors. So 10 over 4, they both have a 2 in common, so that's really 5 over 2. Okay, so when I write out my factor, it's really going to be 2x minus 5. Same thing here. 2 over 4 is 1/2. So when I write my factors, it's going to be 2x plus 1. Now, another good thing about doing that is these, remember, all you're really doing is changing these two numbers and making them opposite signs. So this is a negative 5/2, and this is a positive 1/2. So when I solve for my zeros, my solutions are going to be x equals 5/2 and x equals negative 1/2. That's a good way to know that that's the number you're going to plot for your zeros. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to go to negative 1/2, and it's going to be kind of right there, so I'm going to put a dot. 5/2 is 2 goes into 5 twice, so that's 2.5, so I'm going to go 1, 2.5. So this is a very skinny parabola, which makes sense because we have a 4 in the front. So then I'm going to draw my picture. So I go through this point, and I'm going to curve it around and go through this point. Remember, because it's a parabola, it's a U shape. Okay? So, when you're solving these, you're solving for the vertex, and then you're solving for the zeros, and then you're plotting those 3 points. Seems like a lot of work, but once you get the hang of it, it's not so bad. Okay? So make sure you took good notes over this. Make sure you write your summary in your weekly schedule, and make sure that you know what's going on. And we will talk about this in class tomorrow. Have a good night.